Okay, we're live.
Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. You are at Unity Southeast in Kansas City. You're at exactly the right place at the right time. So we're glad you're here with us. Tonight we are going to activate your power now on the power of ZEAL. So I want to share a quote with you by one of Unity's co-founders. And this is the famous quote on ZEAL, let me tell you. Charles Fillmore wrote, "I fairly sizzle with zeal enthusiasm and spring forth a mighty faith to the things that ought to be done by me." So tonight we have four speakers that are going to share their truths of the stories that ought to be done by them as they enlighten and inspire us this evening. So, but to get started, we're all going to stand up.
That was me, sorry.
And we are going to fairly sizzle with zeal. So I want you to say, "I fairly sizzle with zeal," but you got to sizzle it.
Okay.
You ready? I fairly sizzle
fairly
with
sizzle
zeal.
with
So
zeal.
you got to get really loud and clear. Ready?
I fairly sizzle with
zeal. Yes. Let's welcome up Ryan. Come on.
All right. I don't know if that was zealous enough for me. Do we need to do it again?
Right.
Okay.
A little more shaking to it.
Maybe like, no. Well, good evening. My name is Brian Ashworth. It's always a pleasure to be here at AYPN. Tonight, you would think, being the kid in high school, or grade school for that matter, growing up, I was always picked last for everything. I rarely was picked first if I were ever picked at all. And here I am, first on the list to speak. I'm like, dang it, I don't want to be first. So here we are, if I can, there we go. So we're going to talk about ZEAL tonight. How many of you can tell me what ZEAL is? What's the definition? Don't look at your phone. Passionate?
What makes you go?
What makes you go?
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm? Pastor Randy, give me some.
They covered them all.
I would say lust,
Tenacity. Oh, go ahead.
lust for life.
Lust, oh, I love that, lust for life. Here's what Webster says: a great energy or enthusiasm in pursuit of a cause or an objective. So what I would like to do, if it's okay with you, is use a synonym for zeal. Passion. I love that word, passion, because I believe that we are all born with passions within us, that as we grow and we learn, those passions can either be cultivated and pursued, or trauma has a way of imprisoning those passions and they get stuffed and they never get realized. And some of us, I would beg, almost afraid to say, I bet some of us are sitting here in this room, some of us online, that if I were to ask you, what are your passions? What are you passionate about? You might not be able to answer that question. So tonight what I'd like to do in talking about passion or zeal is I want to talk about what is it. We've just talked a little bit about what it is. What does that look like? How do we get there? And how can we begin to realize those passions or walk the road or the journey of living that passionate life, activating our passions? How can we do that? So that's what I'd like to do. So hopefully at the end of our time together, you're going to have at least a very clear snapshot of what it is, the pathway to get there, and something tangible that you can begin to do to activate the passions in your life and begin to discover and unearth what those passions are. So as I began to think about passion, if you've known me for a long time, you've known that I've had a passion assessment. Last time I was here, I think I offered that to you. I work with passions. I believe passionate people suffer. Pastor Randy might agree with me if we get in conversation. Highly passionate people suffer. Would you agree with that?
I would.
But I believe that the way to get there, and I'm going to give you one example, to get to your passion is the doorway of vulnerability. So I'd like to define that word for you because I think that's a word that sometimes we don't really put a whole lot of thought into. We might use it, and I think specifically we as men just gloss over it. And I believe, especially for men, I speak to a lot of men, vulnerability is the key that will unlock the pursuit, the passionate pursuit in your life. And here's what vulnerability means. It's the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed either physically or emotionally. In other words, vulnerability is I am choosing to place or position myself in a situation where I know I can be or potentially will be harmed or wounded by you, and I'm okay with that. Think about that. If you're having problems in marriage, let this settle, sink, and simmer for a minute. Vulnerability with anyone, your spouse, your husband, your wife, your children, your friends, your creator, is I am choosing to position myself in relationship to you where I know I can or potentially could be wounded by you. And I'm okay with that. And if you wound me, by the way, I would do it again. And I believe that's what love is. And I believe that as we begin our journey tonight, we're going to see an example of the most authentic expression and example of that vulnerability and passionate pursuit in action. In Latin, the word vulner in that word simply means wound. So it is the ability to wound. So I want to give you an example in one of my favorite books, the Bible, of what I believe is my greatest example of vulnerability in a passionate pursuit. And that example is in Jesus Christ. When the Bible says in Philippians chapter 2, verse 5, it says, "Let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, did not consider it robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, taking the form of a bondservant and coming in the likeness of men. And being found in appearance as a man, humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross." Do you see what's taking place right here? Jesus Christ, the proclaimed Son of God, has left his home in heaven, stripped himself of divinity by his choice to come to earth in the likeness of man, to look you and I face to face, knowing what was in front of him. He chose to position himself in a place where he knew not that he could, but he would be wounded on our behalf in pursuit of relationship, to restore relationship with us and Father God. You continue to look at, and I'm going to make this connection for you, you continue to look at the life of Christ up to the point of the week before Easter. What do we call that?
Passionate.
Passion Week. What are we talking about tonight? Passion. Why do we call it Passion Week?
Want to give it all regardless.
Passionate people suffer. And Jesus was passionate about you and me. He was passionate about being obedient to the will of the Father to the point where he's in the Garden of Gethsemane and he's on his knees And he's crying with so much anguish, the Bible says it's like tears of blood coming from his face. And he says, if this cup pass from me, this cup of suffering, let it pass from me. Is there any other way? Not my will, but yours be done. And he remained in his state and position of vulnerability, to be beaten, to be scourged, crown of thorns put on his head, to carry that cross to the top of that mountain, to be nailed to it, and say, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. And that's the expression of passion that the Father has for us, and the position of vulnerability. And I think it's ironic that Paul says, I take up my cross daily. In other words, what I hear in this is, if you can be vulnerable in your relationships, and that means including to yourself. It starts with you. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. You can only love someone beyond, you can't love someone beyond the capacity to which you love you. How well are you loving you? So vulnerability, do you have the vulnerability to look within and really get honest with yourself? How many of us are living a sheltered, protected, secure life out of this fear of insecurity? Because of something somebody has said to us that probably had nothing to do with us. Or some traumatic event, or some dysfunctional home growing up. I've been there, I've lived through that. And the passions that have been divinely, intricately woven into the core of our soul and our being, and who we are in our DNA as a person, has been stunted and buried and covered up. And we don't even know who we are because we're living a sheltered, protected life, and we're only hurting ourselves. And we don't even know what we're passionate about. So I want to implore you to begin to do that. And the question is how? That sounds great, right? How do I begin? Well, this is the tangible piece I want to leave with you. Because there are things that get in the way of vulnerability, because if you can't be vulnerable, you're not going to realize your passion. So what gets in the way of that vulnerability? I love Brene Brown. She says, when you shut down vulnerability, you shut down opportunity. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Vulnerability is not about winning, it's not about losing. It's about having the courage to show up even when you can't control the outcome. So what is getting in the way? I can't tell you what that is for you. But I can tell you what to do. This is going to sound so trivial. It's going to sound so simple. You're going to laugh at me. I know you are. And I'm going to say whatever that is. You know what that is. If you really get honest with yourself, you know, what's getting in the way? What's stopping me? What am I afraid of? What am I insecure about? What is the barrier of me getting vulnerable and honest with myself? You know what that is. You may not be able to kind of paint the whole canvas, but you see a piece of it. You know intuitively what is getting in the way. And I'm going to tell you right now, here's your answer. Just stop it. You're like, well, that's simple. That's too simple. Well, maybe not. But I'm gonna give you, and I'm gonna give you a preface right now. If there's anybody in this room that loves to hold on to excuses, I'm gonna give you 2 seconds to stand up and leave. Because I'm going to eradicate all excuses tonight, so you will have none. If you look at the word stop, there are 2 definitions. And they are, come to an end, cease to happen. Or 2, to cause an action or process or event to come to an end. Those 2 definitions sound very similar, but there is a vast distinguished difference between those two, and here's the difference. Come to an end. That means it just stops. To cause an action or an action to cause to come to an end means that there's some resource or some action that's taken that needs to be invested or used in order for something to come to an end. Now, let me give you an example. If I had water flowing through a hose and I wanted the water to stop, I must get up from where I'm at and do one of two things. I can walk all the way to the spigot and turn it off, or I can walk to the hose and kink it or plug it with my finger. To get that to stop requires an action on my part. Do you agree? But if I wanted to stop smoking, I cease all action altogether. Are you with me? So I'm not talking about taking action to stop something. I think that's part of our problem, is we are taking too much action trying to control an outcome, and we're getting distracted from what we're pursuing in the first place. Stop it. Cease action. Cease and desist. So what is getting in the way of your vulnerability, and what is it that you need to stop? In his book, Andrew Daniel, here's some things that he says. Stop suffering. I said passionate people suffer. There's good suffering and there's not so good suffering. There's suffering that has value on the other side. There's suffering that's meaningless. Right? It's painful to stay in the situation you're in. It's painful to change. One's temporary, one's permanent. Choose your pain. Both is painful. One has value, one doesn't. Are you with me? Stop thinking too much. Stop trying to get it right. Stop looking for the magic pill. Stop looking for a way to skip the discomfort. Stop lying to yourself. Stop overanalyzing, trying to fix yourself, others in the world. Stop trying to understand everything. Stop blaming and complaining. Tell the same story over and over. Stop shoulding all over yourself. Stop waiting until you're ready. Stop trying to be perfect, trying to control everything, beating yourself up, judging, avoiding, holding your breath, putting on a show. Stop cultivating a persona or a better mask. Stop building walls and putting on your armor. Stop censoring and throttling. Stop the addictions, hiding out, playing small, distorting reality. Stop manipulating, defending, and justifying, living in a fantasy and being in denial. Stop trying to be funny, cool, and sexy. Stop letting your ego and arrogance run you, attacking others and yourself, suppressing and numbing out. Stop being codependent, isolated. Stop making everything about you. Stop suppressing, stop martyring yourself, stop abandoning yourself, withholding and holding others back, inflating, exaggerating. Stop gossiping, using other people to beat yourself up, trying to be someone you're not, rejecting love and support, putting off what you want. Stop worrying, poisoning yourself with bad food ideas, media, etc. Stop making it hard. Stop playing dumb, competing, comparing, projecting, avoiding life, acting superior, disassociating from feeling in your body. Stop making excuses and letting fear run you. Stop waiting for someone else to rescue you. Stop fixing yourself. What if I told you there's nothing to fix, that you're perfect just the way you are? You just had to accept it and learn how to live from that space. Stop! Can we get vulnerable with ourselves about the things that we're doing that maybe we shouldn't, that are holding us back? Business owners do the same thing. They're so busy, but they're running on a treadmill, wondering why their profits are the way they are. They're not even willing to get vulnerable in their own business. They're trying to keep it all to themselves, and they're treating their employees like they're just a bunch of robots. Vulnerability is the key. It will unlock the passion and pursuit of whatever that is in your life, where you will begin to live from a place of enthusiasm and zeal and love for life, that lust for life. Thank you for sharing that, my friend. You will begin. It will open things up like a flower in the morning sun. When you can get honest and vulnerable with you, yourself, and your community. And you will awaken and activate your passions. Thank you.
I'm gonna kind of recap a little bit on what you said about zeal being surrender and moving you forward in action. And when I think of zeal, and when I think of, we talked about our master way shower, our teacher, the Christ, he guided us forward in a very human way and into living our divinity out here in this plane and in this vibrational field. And it also reminds me of his brother in arms, Gautama Siddhartha, who we also call the Buddha, who said, through zeal, knowledge is gotten, it through the lack, knowledge is gotten in through lack of zeal. So knowledge is not gotten through the lack of zeal, knowledge is lost. Let a man who knows the double path of gain and loss thus place himself that knowledge may grow. Because knowledge is energy. That is zeal, that is in motion. And as we are in motion, zeal is represented here in unity in the color orange. Orange, you know, the vibrancy, the bringing out of like the glow. Somebody said lust in life or lust love? Yes.
Lust for life.
Lust for life, lust for life. And I'm thinking, you know, you're experiencing and you're expressing that's zeal, sizzling in zeal, enthusiastic for life, wanting more, moving forward. I even think it starts when we're really little. How many of you ever heard of the little engine that could? And it starts out, he goes really quiet. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. But then he gets excited and he starts to chug up on that train, moving up. I think I can, until he's shouting it out. I think I can. And it becomes, I know I can. Zeal is the foundation of all the powers. It's what puts that motivation in place so we can unleash the rest of our powers. And I think that's what we're all doing here at Activate Your Power Now. So next up, I want to bring up Kimberly.
Flip the button up.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I'm Kimberly Sly, and Brian kind of already covered a little bit. I was going to ask you guys the definition of zeal. So we have a pretty good understanding of that. I want to ask next, is zeal only a positive word?
No.
So this was something I was kind of thinking about because initially when I was looking up, what does this exactly mean? What am I going to talk about? I thought, oh, it's only about positive things and the positive energy and lust for life. But in the story that I was thinking about, I had to revert back to a time where the zeal that I had for this specific thing was actually out of bitterness, that I became passionate about what I was doing. Which seems kind of silly when you think about, you know, the definition when you initially think about it. So, those of you who know me know that I am very passionate about a couple of things. And one of them is being health, true health, a full mind, body, spirit connection, not all right, there's a time and a place for that. I am a registered nurse. And the other one is advocating for domestic violence survivors. So since it's October, most of us know that it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I thought this was probably an appropriate place to talk about this. It was this time about 3 years ago, just a few days after I had escaped my abuser, that I was asked to do a news interview for a local news station. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh. Because of the fear that comes with that, right? If he finds out that it was me, I'm in more harm. I'm putting myself in harm's way by doing this. And they told me, we will do it, we will blur your face, we will change your voice, we won't use your name. We just want to help empower other people who have been in your situation and let them know that there is help outside their resources. They don't have to stay in situations like these. And so I came across this quote, one of my favorite ones, and it's from Malala, and she says, "I raise my voice not so that I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard." I'll tell you, prior to this day, I would rather have jumped off a bridge without any safety equipment on than speak in public. And after I did that news interview, it was more like a conversation. It was very comfortable. You know how the news is. They take a whole long story and they clip it into small pieces so they can edit out things that I didn't want them to put on there. So after doing that little news clip and it aired, even though it was anonymous, there was this sense of empowerment about that. Like being able to voice what I had just experienced and being out, and I was living in a hotel for the next 6 weeks. And after that, I was asked a few more times to speak about this situation. And every time that I did it, from there on out, I did it not anonymously. I showed my face. It was in front of people like yourself. And there was some empowerment because people came up to me telling me their stories, or that they were in a situation like that. And I had no idea the impact that could make. And so I feel like we oftentimes think we don't want to tell our stories because no one understands. I know, I stayed in the situation I was in because I thought, everyone's gonna think I'm nuts. No one's gonna believe the things that are going on behind these closed doors, right? But if it's happening to me, if it's happening to you, it's happening to someone else out there. So I think the world tries to create this facade that, especially with Facebook and Instagram and all the social media, right? We want to show the pretty. We don't want people knowing. I think of the movie Bad Moms, not that I've seen it. But you know how you've got the group of moms that look like they are a hot mess. And then you've got the group of moms that look like they've got it all put together, when in actuality, we learn at the end of the story, right? They're a hot mess too. And I think it's hard for us to be real and vulnerable. We don't have it all together all the time, and it's okay. And we can use that, right? So tonight I want to encourage you. One of my favorite things to do is to talk to people about their pains. Whether it be addiction, a failed marriage, maybe it's the loss of a child. Someone else out there has gone through it, is going through it, and they need you. They need your story to help encourage them to keep going. So I want you to think of that pain and think about how you can turn it into a passion. And I think it's funny that Brian brought up excuses. We were talking on the phone on the way here. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I'm like, I am full of 100 excuses all the time. So when he said, turn around and walk, I think he was looking at me, waiting for me to turn around and walk out the door. But I'm gonna tell you now, I know we all have 100 excuses. I'm full of them. I'm full of them. And I know a lot of us think, I don't have enough time. There's not enough time to do something like this. I'm too tired. Let me tell you, Jesus was tired. And I think he was tired of Peter. So there's this word that I came across, and I don't want to butcher the meaning of it, so I'm going to read it. It's one of my favorite words, and I have it wrote on my mirror in my bathroom, so I see it every day. It is ikigai, and it is the Japanese concept referring to something that gives a person a sense of purpose or a reason for living. And I thought that fit so well with what we're talking about tonight, right? And for me, with what I had experienced, you know, I began speaking, I became kind of passionate about that, and then it kind of led into something more when I was volunteering with domestic violence shelters, and I got a call from a friend who I had made, who worked at Newhouse, and she asked me if I knew of any resources to help a mama out who was moving out of that shelter and had nothing.
Right.
And I thought, you know what? I have an awesome, amazing community. And so I pulled everyone together and we took furniture from people's basements that had been covered in 3 years worth of dust, you know, things like that. And I kind of got a list of what she was needing and we pulled all this stuff together. And let me tell you the impact. I had no idea gathering all this stuff, the impact that it would make on me. She was so grateful and started crying. And she's like, I can't ever repay you. I won't ever be able to repay you. And I said, guess what? Someone once did this for me. You don't have to repay me. I didn't have to repay the people that did it for me. But what you can do moving forward is pay it forward, right? And I think we're all capable of that. It doesn't take me a whole lot of time to get on Facebook. There's the positives of social media. To get on Facebook and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Does anybody have it? And then people reach out to their people, right? It's a small world.
Yeah.
We have a lot of connections, and especially in communities like this where, you know, it may be a small community, but the amount of people that we know outside of this community can make a huge impact. So I want to leave you with this, because I think a lot of times we think that we can't have one thing without the other. So I'm just going to close with, you can be unhappy and still be in love. You can be in love and still walk away. You can walk away and still feel the weight of the loss. You can feel the weight of the loss and still stand tall. You can stand tall and still be grieving. You can be grieving and still find joy. You can find joy and still miss what you had. You can miss what you had and still long for more. And that's by L.E. Bowman. And I like that because I think a lot of times we look at our past and we get stuck in the past, right? And my encouragement is to reflect on the past, right? That's why we've all heard it, the rearview mirror is so small. Let's reflect on the past and figure out how we're gonna move forward. And I encourage you again, just to reiterate, find that pain that broke you and figure out how to turn it into your passion. If you're not sure how to make that happen, I would be happy to talk to you. Have a good night.
I like how you said pain and passion. It made me think of my definition that I brought here tonight with me. It was, zeal is the quickening and awakening to new life. So it doesn't always feel good when you're getting started, right? There could be an experience, because being human, it's all about experiences, right? And the way we move through them. So zeal is that piece that gives us the motion, you know, to move through it. In fact, in unity, we represent each power with a disciple, and the power of zeal is represented by Simon the Canaanite, or some call him Simon the Zealot. The Zealots were a political party during the time in biblical history, and Simon was a change maker, a go-getter. So of course our Waysharer needed that on his team, right? Someone that had the desire to move forward, go in and move into those passions, to jump and express zeal. You know? So I would like for everybody to do is think about what are the tools that you use to express or experience zeal. Okay? Tools. So you might, some of us break down in our pain, and I just dropped them on, break down in our pain, and we express through sharing our story. Some of us might work out, or fast, or to step into our power, right? Some of us might meditate. What tools do you use to put yourself into motion, to quicken and awaken to new life.
Mall walks with God.
I'm sorry, both of you, Mall
Walks with God.
walks with God,
Right.
right?
Say right.
Right?
Yeah.
Rochelle? Well, you know what, expressing, I'm here, yes.
Sing.
Sing,
Spoken word.
spoken word. Yeah, to share some words.
Yeah, we'll to connect.
And the moves of the Izzy dance.
Dancing.
For me, it's reminding myself that I have power to choose and have that intentionality.
Power to choose, and having intention
Time in nature.
in nature. So there's lots of ways that there are a lot of tools that we all individually and uniquely have to be able to express zeal. So I invite you, if you didn't say one now, or if you're not completely grounded in where you're at today, take in some of the tools you've heard tonight to express your zeal in even a deeper way. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back for our next 2 speakers. Thank you.
So, I'm Noah. You said spoken word. You go to the
Expressing the glow. I was just speaking to our next speaker, and she made the statement, I've been battling this all week. And I know that this speaker is going to speak in her glow and her energetic vibrational footprint. So welcome on in, Dee
Good evening. How's everybody?
Good.
What? Are y'all asleep? Come on, man. I said, how is everybody?
Yeah.
All night, y'all gonna say, hey. We gonna passion all night. Oh, okay, hey. We not gonna work now. We tired. We hey. So when I started thinking about ZEAL and doing it, I figured a lot of people would come from a passionate place and a positive place. I love how she just touched on it's not always positive. The definition of zeal is passion and fanatics and somebody who's passionate, all locomotive going forward, right? We agree on that? We learned that tonight?
Yes.
What if we're going in the wrong direction? In the right passion? What if I meant to do right? What if I really was hoping this time I got it right? I hear that 20 times a week because I work with substance abuse and mental health. Miss Evie, I wish I could have got it right. I hate disappointing you guys. I hate coming back here. I don't want to do it again. And I tell them, well, you know, there was a couple of days before Jesus was taken. He said he didn't want to do it either. And here he was. He did it too. I don't think there's a person on this earth that has ever crossed this earth that did not know that they had to do it too. Are you pushing forward for somebody and you've decided that this person in this place and this thing has to have the same passion as what hurt me? What if your journey into your zeal is about the noun? When you look at the definition of zeal, it is a noun. And we all learned in school what are nouns? Persons, places, and things. So does that mean that you can have zeal in the wrong direction? If you're chasing your persons, your places, and your things? What if you're chasing the wrong things? What if you're chasing the wrong people? I'm sure, I think at some point in all of our lives, at least one time, your mother said, I don't like that boy. I don't like that little girl. Something's wrong with her. She just wants our money. I don't like her. She sleeps around. I heard about her. Or that boy, he got so many girlfriends, and his mother drinks, and she lets the kids come over. We've all heard somebody else's judgment on our choices of persons, places, and things. Our zeal can go in the wrong place. Our zeal can go like a locomotive in the wrong direction with good intention. See, I wanted to save you, but I couldn't. So I hold that the rest of my days. I wished I could have got to you before you pulled the trigger. And I carry that the rest of my days. What if my zeal is an internal kill switch for me? What if your zeal is not enough? What if me loving her enough didn't keep her here? What if I couldn't save that family member that was still on drugs? But this is what I do for a living. What if I'm saving somebody else's baby, but I can't save my mom's? What if my zeal and my passion is for everybody else but people that look like me? What if my zeal and my passion is for the things in the world? Do you understand that from the top of the hill, from Capitol Hill, from the president down, we've got zeal in the wrong direction. We've got people making decisions and deciding for us with their passions, fighting for us. When our guys go off in the military, my brother's in the military. When they go off in the military, they don't ask any questions. The orders are given. You move out in the same direction. We are unified. We are not to look weak in front of anyone. Anybody raised like that? Don't talk about what goes on in this house. Anybody raised like that? You better not say what happened in here. Anybody raised like that? There's one in every family. Anybody raised like that? Right? We need excuses for someone else's passion, even though their passion caused me my pain. And here I am perpetrating the purity of my passions. How can my passions be pure when they're festering off of the bitterness of something that someone did to me? Maybe I only go and help the women who have been raped because I already know. Somebody's passion was wrong for me. Somebody's zeal was not correct. I have a passion for women because I know what it's like to be silenced. So my passion is to push you forward. Never be silenced again. I want to hear you yell so that you can know that your voice was always there. I want you inside of you. Your zeal has to be a part of you. It has to come from a passionate place that the only places you can go is with you and God. Whatever power you have is your passions connected to everything. As Brian said, you gotta find it. Or else you're out here spinning your zeal wheels. Your passions for everybody else. Your passions to prove to somebody else that you're worthy of their zeal. How many times have women stayed in broken relationships because he's the only one, he told me, that's gonna love me? How many men have stayed in those situations only because your mother said she was good? It was her choice. She didn't care what you wanted, or that you liked the girl down the street because she was willing to go from the bus stop to the limo with you, and your mother only wanted you to have aims for the hospital. We only want to have the best for our kids, and sometimes our best is built off of our bitterness. We want the best for them because we didn't have it. And now we have a generation of entitlement. Because somebody should have gave it to me because nobody gave it to my mom. You owe me something. I owe you how to set the fire and passion in yourself. I owe you the zeal to believe in who you are. I owe you your nouns. You are correct. By the time you walk away from this earth, you ought to know who your people were, where your passions lie. Who was there for you? Who are your nouns? And are you wasting your passion on somebody else's zeal? Thank you.
Thank you, Dee Dee, I appreciate that. I think when I'm hearing about wasting your passions on someone else, and as I was listening to your share, and I was thinking about that disciple Simon, and we don't hear a lot about him in the biblical traditions, and he was what you might call a little bit of a hellraiser in the little pieces that we do know about him, because he believed that Jesus was here to give a new message. And that was his charge in his shares and in how he lived his life. And he wasn't hanging on to the old ideas. He was ready to step into the new ideas. And when we talk about zeal being in that glow, zeal being in that motion forward, we're stepping into what is new, building on our foundation so we can enliven love and power and order, release, just the animation and how we live our lives and vitality and the works, right? So we are going to bring up our last speaker. We have Alan, who's going to come share with us a little bit about zeal and where he's going to take us.
Thank you very much. The Elvis. Who saw the Elvis movie? Anybody see that movie? Anybody see the Elvis movie? Yeah, that was a good movie. I really love that movie. He was dancing, and he actually was in a black church where he learned his dance moves at and his music and everything. You know, the gospel church. I was like, okay, brother got a little soul to him. You know, it's really good. I'm really grateful to be here. It was actually, I was in the library some time ago, and as I was in that library, I ran into Isabel, and I was actually there for a meeting with a guy about how to manifest with a library. And I'm like, this should be interesting. I'm like, this would be interesting. You know, it's a very interesting thing, and I feel like there's a divine synchronicity in everything we do. You know, my perspective of winning the lottery is that if you woke up, you won the lottery.
Right.
Every breath. Yeah, every breath. Yeah. You woke up, you won the lottery of life. You know, you're alive, you exist. You know, if you can walk, if you can talk, if you can dance, if you can smile, those are all lottery moments. You know? So it's having that true level of abundance. It's experiencing that. And let's encapsulate an idea that we call zeal. Okay, 'cause I studied the word, before she told me about it, I haven't really heard of it much, I was, oh, here we go back to school, I'm looking through the, encyclopedia, the dictionary trying to define this word, and what occurred to me is that it's an energy that animates us to do what we love. And what I've learned from that is that zeal is not something we have. Zeal is something that we are. Now, instead of acquiring zeal, it's more about accepting that you are zeal and uncovering that. And so a lot of people are talking about, zeal in the positive direction, zeal in the negative direction, things like that. What about the people that don't have any zeal at all? They've done a study on the people that was, that are less likely or more likely to, do damage to themselves in any way. It's the ones that are like, oh, I'm gonna hurt myself, and they're really passionate about it. The doctors consider them, they're not really that high risk, they're still animate, they're still like, there's life, there's vitality there. But it's the ones that's like, I don't like my life, I don't wanna live. Those are the ones that are very high risk, because that life animation, that zeal is not there. See, so there's things they look out for. So we've uncovered that we are zeal. What I'm gonna talk about are 5 things that blocks our zeal. 5 things. There are gonna be different things for everyone, but these are 5 things that I've come across that it blocks a lot of people's zeal. First thing that blocks our zeal, we don't believe in ourselves. Plain and simple, we don't believe in ourselves. We doubt ourselves. I gave a TED Talk a couple of years ago. I gave a TED Talk, very blessed to be on that stage. And I talked about how there's a little voice in our head that always talks to us about every single thing. And it's not what happens to us, it's what we tell ourselves about what happens to us that impacts the very nature of our life. Indeed, what we tell ourselves is actually what manifests into our life. Someone says, oh, I'm trying to put on pounds. They go see their grandma. The grandma's like, oh, baby, you're getting big. You're not having circumstances happen to you. You're having circumstances reflect what you're telling yourself. So therefore, if you don't believe in yourself, it's not that you don't believe in yourself, it's that you believe that you don't believe in yourself. Thus you manifest the experience of not believing in yourself because it's obeying your belief. So if you believe that you're not worthy, that you're not accepted, that you're not powerful, you're gonna manifest a situation that creates that very same thing. You're gonna manifest playing a freaking bingo game just to lose, just to prove your point, because creation will never deny you your power. Even if you're using that power to not believe in yourself. If you're using that power to put yourself down, you're actually using your power to put yourself down. Who's stronger, a tiger or someone who's able to create a cage that shrinks a tiger? You're shrinking yourself with your unlimited creative ability. You're shrinking a tiger down to the cage the size of a cup. So even if you don't believe in yourself, you're still powerful. Because you're shrinking an unlimited creator, because you're all unlimited creators. So no matter what, whether you believe in yourself, don't believe in yourself, guess what? You're still powerful. It's just, what do you want to do with your power? What do you want to do with your zeal? What direction you want to take it? Because wherever you set your sights, you're going to go. You're going to get there anywhere. Second thing that blocks our zeal, entertaining friendships and relationships that are not for you. Entertaining friendships and relationships that are not for you. I've learned that they say that, we are who we surround ourselves with, right? I'll take it to the next level. The people that we surround ourselves with are reflecting aspects of ourselves that we see consciously and aspects of ourselves that we don't see consciously, unconsciously. Someone that may say, oh, I always get people that talk too much in my life, right? Or I get people that talk too much. Maybe there's someone in your life that feels you talk too much. And you're not understanding it, so you're experiencing it from a different perspective. So you can be like, oh, okay, that really sucks. Now I'm gonna take more compassion to my life. A lot of times we attract people into our lives that are exaggerated versions of an aspect of us that we either accept or don't accept. Every single person, your creation engine is on 100% of the time. Take responsibility for the people that keep showing up in your life and look into yourself and see, why am I attracting this? Why am I experiencing this? But I keep calling this towards me. So it must be something to look at. Otherwise, God will not keep sending this example to me.
Yes.
And it's just that simple. Here's one of the things I accepted some years ago that I'm doing this to help others accept as well. You are responsible for everything in your life. You don't get what you want, you get what you expect. Somebody says, oh, I'm about to go and play basketball game. They lose. Oh, I knew I was going to lose. I knew it was going to happen. I'm going to apply for this job. Oh, I knew I wasn't going to get the job. So understand that when you have people in your life, actively choose the people that you admire. Actively choose the people that resonate with you or who you're choosing to be. And then if you notice that people just keep popping up that you don't prefer, evaluate what aspect of yourself is attracting them. And then evaluate what gift maybe you have to give them. Sometimes the best gift that you can give someone in their entire life is just to say, no. I appreciate, but I don't enjoy our connection, and it's just not for me. Yeah, I think you're an absolutely amazing person, but in terms of my life, not right now. It doesn't resonate. If it changes, I'll call you. We'll attract people that will help us strengthen our ability just to say no. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, I'm just going to let them stay there until they eventually fizzle out. You're going to keep on attracting people that's going to help you understand the power of just saying no, thank you. I like to say not right now, because it can change. Not right now, okay? Third thing, oh, this is good. Trying to fit in. Trying to be something you're not, so you can be accepted by the people outside of you. What was this quote that said? It says something along the lines of like, too many people are buying things they don't want, trying to be something that they're not, to impress people they don't even like. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Will Smith, yeah. So it's almost like there's this level of acceptance where it's like, man, it's like I crave acceptance. I crave to be accepted. But I'll just give you the end game. You're craving the acceptance of yourself. That's what you're craving, the acceptance of yourself. That's where it starts. You'll have people in your life, right? Let's just use a number scale, where your connection with them, some people, it feels like it's a -1. Every time they're like, they're around me, I'm like, -1, right? Then there's the ones that's a 0. Okay, they're neutral there, they're there, it's whatever, it's a person in my life. Then there's ones that's a positive one. Oh, that's a positive one. Okay, I love this person, they're absolute gold, Most people have a mix of all, right? Some people say, how do you attract more positive ones, or how do you do away with the negative ones? I'll give you the secret. You look in the mirror and you say, do I see a 0, positive one, or negative one when I look in this mirror? Because whatever you see in yourself, it's going to manifest into your life. So if you want to attract more +1s in your life, look at yourself and start to conceptualize how can you see yourself as a +1. How are you a +1? How are you a positive? How are you adding on to people? Start to really grasp that. And the more you grasp that and accept that, the more you reflect that aspect of you from others. The more you'll see that. See? So that's what that's really about. There was this time where I was thinking about, there's this idea of the popular kids, right? Like in high school and the popular kids. I was very, very small in high school. I was like 5'4", 125, 130 pounds, super skinny. They called me Chicken Little. It wasn't cute. Okay, I was really small, but I was happy and I was funny, right? And I love that aspect of myself. But there's this idea of the popular kids, and there's this part of me that the jocks and everything. I don't feel like I fit in with the people that were like the jocks, that energy. I just didn't fit in with that. And and what God occurred to me is that sometimes you don't fit in to these groups because you're here to redefine what popular is. And so I say that to you. Are you trying to fit in with an idea, or are you redefining what the new popular is? Someone was mentioning vulnerability. Who was mentioning vulnerability again? The power of you? Yeah, exactly. That can be the popular thing. You see? When you see it from that perspective, now people are like, yeah, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to lean more into that. That can be the popular thing. You know, we as human beings create and define what's popular. I'm asking you to be a thought leader in it and not a follower. Be a leader in it. Create it. Simple as that. See, so this is the fourth one, almost there, almost to the last one, is fourth thing that blocks our zeal is trying to just survive and not thrive. Trying to just survive and not thrive. This is a big topic for a lot of people is the idea of money. Yeah, so like, a lot of us, we walk with these money beliefs where it's like we have this idea of what we want, but at the same time, we gotta come to reality and what we have, and that's just the way it is, the way money is. I gotta work to pay bills and do that and just live my life that way. You know, some people feel like the money is like an uphill slope, right? It's like an uphill slope that is always against the grain. They're swimming and they're barely above water. You know, money is an energy. It is an energy. And this energy of money is something that follows your belief in your action. Your belief in your action. You know, you say, oh my goodness, you know, it's such a struggle, you know, money, it's such a struggle. And then God gives you an opportunity to add value to others in a way that could make money. You're like, nah, not right now. Nah, I'm not gonna pursue that. No one does that. I gotta get back to this thing I don't prefer. You know, I have no issues with jobs. I have no issues with anything. Only thing I have an issue with is doing what we don't prefer. There is enough abundance for you to make a full-time living doing what you love. There is enough abundance. How many of us here have had unexpected bills coming in the mail? Unexpected bills that just came up out of the it feels like you just take money out of your account. Just take it out of your account.
All those subscriptions.
Subscriptions, Netflix, all of this stuff, right? Tire, all of that stuff. There is enough abundance where you can have unexpected payments to you. Unexpected, like literally, like I did not expect this $500 to come out of nowhere into this. And there's enough abundance for you to experience that. Surviving is doing enough to get by. Thriving is living your life, and you're getting by so well that you're inspiring others to do the same. Money is no longer an idea of working for. Now your money works for you. It follows you. It is you. It's with you. You live in abundance. This is a frequency that can be acquired by absolutely everyone here. I truly believe that one of the languages of money is evaluating the household we grew up. Whenever I do a coaching or with people, because we talk about money a lot, is I always ask, I say, close your eyes. Actually, let's do this right now. We'll do it right now. I got a little bit of time. Let's do it right now, okay? Everyone close your eyes, okay? Close your eyes. Go to where you're 12 years old in your house with your family. Sit in that for a little bit. You're at the kitchen table with your family. You're 12 years old. Now imagine your family talking about money. What are they saying about money? Say it out loud.
Nothing. We can't afford that.
Nothing. Can't afford that.
Afford that.
Can't afford that.
This bill, that bill.
This bill, that bill. What else are they saying about money?
It's part of my budget.
It's not part of the budget.
Oh, it doesn't grow on trees.
It doesn't grow on trees. Yet banks have branches.
Maybe if you'll save up some allowance.
Maybe you'll save up some allowance.
We don't have enough of it.
We don't have enough of it. See, you can open your eyes now. This is the story, the understanding of money that runs in the background of our subconscious mind. So therefore, we're always working against the belief of that. The way that we start to heal that and transform that is by sitting with that story, hearing that story, and you becoming your own parent and talking to your inner child saying, this is the truth about money. This is what we can now accept about money. And you can step into that. You can believe that. You can be the parent that you always craved growing up. With yourself, all in your mind, sitting down there with meditation. And I'm telling you, the results of that can be astronomical. Money is actually a very easy thing to acquire. What's hard for most people is the belief in acquiring it in a way that they prefer. That's a very, very simple thing. And the last thing that blocks our zeal is not loving the clarification process of life. One of my first mentors, one of my very first mentors, I had an idea of where I could either go to college or I can tune into this mentor and learn from him. It's just like when I was young, I was probably like 22, 23, whatever it was, and I chose to turn to this mentor. And this was a mentor who was very money conscious. There was a month where he created over 100,000, 200,000 in a month, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn from this guy, right? And one of the things that he would tell me is like, Alan, in life, nothing is negative, it's only necessary. Nothing is negative, it's only necessary. When we view it from that perspective, we can actually get the most out of that certain experience. The clarification process of life is you walking through your, okay, actually, allow me to give it in a parable. Day one, I posted it on Facebook some time ago. If you've seen it, just don't act like you heard it for the first time again, okay. Day one, I walked down the street. Walking by my business, I fell into the hole. I'm in this hole, I've been in it for like hours. I don't know how I got here. Oh my God, it's a scary hole. I don't know what I'm gonna do for now. I can barely see the sunlight. It's really dark. I need to get out of this hole. Hours go by, hours go by. I eventually find a way out. I climb out, I leave. Day two, I walk down the same street. I keep going, boom, I fell into the hole again. What the heck? The same hole I fell into again. I'm creating a habit. What am I doing? This is crazy. Why am I in this hole? I got out of the hole a little bit quicker. Day three, I walked down the same street. I looked at the hole. I knew it was there. Whatever. I fell into the hole again. This is crazy. What am I doing with my life? This is, what? I immediately got out of the hole. Day four, I walked down the same street. I saw the hole. I walked around the hole. I kept going. Day five, I walked down a different street. It is this parable that explains the clarification process of life. If you judge the hole you fall into, you're focused on it. You're going to attract more of it. No, if you go into this hole and you're just like, oh my goodness, this is the most terrible thing ever. What's wrong with me? You blame yourself. That's going to keep you there longer. If you fall into the hole and you say, you know what? This is a perfect dance floor. And you learn to dance in the hole. And they're like, you know what? Let me get out of this hole real fast. Let me fill it with water. Now it's a pool. Now I can swim in this hole. Now I can invite people to a pool party. To the point where you don't even see it as a hole anymore. Now it's a party on the street. And you do that with every street you go. This is taking the quote-unquote negative things of life and making it to your benefit. To the space where now you're living in zeal. Because everything that happens in your life is for you, is taking you exactly where you want to go. Here's a hint. Where you want to go is now. That's all where you want to go is now. There is no such thing as time. There is no such thing as distance. The entire universe, the entire multiverse, and the universe of multiverses exists in one moment of now. So therefore, as you're living in that moment of now and enjoying this thought-filled universe, you'll understand that your zeal is something that you are, that you can love, that you can accept, and then you can be a light unto others. Be a light unto the darker and illuminate others, because those others are also your zeal, because others are you. We are one. Thanks for having me.
You know, we talked about, we've had vulnerability, we've had passions, but you brought it home when you're talking about owning our divinity, talking about that we are powerful, manifesting beings, that we can own our divine inheritance, because zeal is what carries us to the height of our spiritual experience. So I'm going to leave you with that. You have a great evening. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Such a on the whim.
Right, yeah, I was like, I'm not sure.